מביטה בחלון עכשיו ורואה אותו פוסע בשבילים הצהובים שיבשו עד תום. תרמילו על הגב המכופף ומבט נוגע על שפתיו, מעיין של דם ודמעות מלווים אותו. מסתכל על אותו הירח והיא בו מביטה, ומתוך הגלות והיא מעלתה. יודע שישוב אליה, ישוב לחיקה, פתאום שומע קוראת אליו, אני עוד מחכה.
מיני קולך, מבכי בעינייך, מדמעה כי דמעותייך הביאו אותם אל שלווה ונחמה. מיני קולך, מבכי בעינייך, מדמעה הביטי רחל, הם חוזרים הביתה, חוזרים אל אמא, אל אמא אדמה.
על דרך בית לחם עומדת רחל ומביטה, רואה אותו הולך לאיתו ובעיניה דממה. יודעת שישוב לכאן בעוד 2000 שנה, דמעות מרטיבות את לחיה ובוקעות השממה.
מיני קולך, מבכי בעינייך, מדמעה כי דמעותייך הביאו אותם אל שלווה ונחמה. מיני קולך, מבכי בעינייך, מדמעה הביטי רחל, הם חוזרים הביתה, חוזרים אל אמא, אל אמא אדמה.
Time, so excuse me and thank you so much. Spending Shabbos in Muncie and having time to be with everyone, with all my friends, I lost track of time. So all that we're going to say, Bezrat Hashem, will be Linoi Nishmat Shlomo ben Michael Alav Shalom. He was a very, very special man. My mother and him were married for over 30 years. And he served as a spiritual father to me. He was just a very, very special man. Much to emulate in terms of his simplicity and his desire to just be with the family. That's all he wanted to do, was just to be with the family. And to live with such simplicity is so beautiful. So we should all be zochet to emulate that special midah of just paying attention to what means the most, and that's family. All that what we will learn today, all the chizuk that we will have, should also serve to give nachat to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, l'chavodah shel Torah. We need a lot of zchuyot in the place where we stand right now, in the generation where we are right now. All that I want to pass, all that I want to give to everyone and to myself, because as I teach, I learn, is the awareness and increasing the awareness that Hashem is with us. And it sounds very foolish, and it sounds like we're in first grade, and that we're singing the song Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is truly everywhere. But the truth is that we are boggled down with spiritual viruses that really, really stop us from seeing Hashem's hands. And when I say spiritual viruses, I mean it's really there. It doesn't take much. You don't have to have a TV today or even internet in order to feel that no matter how hard you work on trying to feel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's a battle. It's a war. And we're subject to this war, and so are our poor children. And you really have to have Rahmanis on these children, because they are just constantly battling their inner self, their desire for the material world, and being part of this Western culture, and civilization. We really have to have, just as a parenting tip, we just have to have much more understanding of the battle that they go through. We don't understand the internal turmoil, how hard it is for them to really keep Torah and mitzvahs. It's very hard for them. Even if on the outside you don't see it, but in the inside they're going through struggles. But today I want to relate more, and I will touch a little bit here and there through learning of the life of Mama Rachel, being that it was her Yahrzeit this Shabbos. The whole inyan is just learning what it means to have emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Learning, they're not stories in the Chumash. We're genetically bound to them. So all that they did, not only are we capable of emulating, but we have to learn from it, and they have to be a mentor for us. True mentor for us. So I'd like to start by asking the question that I will answer. How is it that Mama Rachel got the title Mama Rachel? They're all our mothers. What was unique and special about Rachel Imenu? That she is the mother of Am Yisrael. And when we get through the shir, God willing, we're going to find out how much she really did. We all know the story that she gave over the Simanim and what godless that was. But we're going to go further and see really how much she really gave. And by that, we're going to understand how come she was Zocha to that title of, holy title of Mama Rachel. So just to, as a briefing, she not only gave up the Simanim to her sister, but what she gave up was this Olam Hazeh and Olam Haba by doing that. So she had tremendous emunah in Hashem, because she went ahead and did something that was uncomfortable, that was difficult, that required tremendous sacrifice, and she did it all in the name of Hashem, because she trusted in Hashem. And like I said, this is something we have to understand. We have it in us, and I always, in my shiurim, I say the same thing. We can do this. You can live with emunah. It's not something that's just meant for the gadols. We hear these stories of the gedolim that live in simplicity and they live with Hashem, and what, how attached they are to Hashem. Every single one of us can do this, and I want us to feel empowered to be able to live that. I'm just like everyone else here. I have my nisyonos. My cane testifies for it. I've been diagnosed with MS 7 years ago. I live and I struggle with it. I was a successful caterer, thank God. Sora was working with me. We had a great business going. And then I fell ill and we lost everything. We lost financially. We lost everything. We went to Israel literally with a bag and with just dreams. It's been 3 years. And thank God. It's emunah. Going against the irrational, going what's against logic. That's what emunah is. It's saying, I trust in you, Hashem, even if it looks to me the most irrational, because when does emunah start? Emunah starts when the intellect kicks out. When I can no longer understand, when I can no longer see anything that my mind can't grasp what is in front of me or the decision that I'm going to make, and I cast my burden onto Hashem and trust Him. That's emunah. Emunah, you don't have to convince me that there's a fireplace here. I see it. That's not emunah. But you have to convince me something that I don't see. But I know, emunah is understanding that I don't understand. I don't understand, but I trust. I know Hashem has a great track record. He's done a lot for His children. I know He's going to take care of me. I know He's going to take care of the klal. I know He's going to bring us home. And that's what Mama Rachel's crying about, bringing us all home. And Rav Fink Shlita brings a beautiful chiddush, and he writes in the Dvar Torah, he writes that Rachel Imenu me'ana lehinachem al banea ki enenu. Banea is plural for children. She doesn't stop crying for her children, but ki enenu, because he is missing. Enenu is singular. So Rachel Imenu is crying not over the masses of Klal Yisrael, because Baruch Hashem, yes, there's a lot of us that are lost, but she is not comforted by the fact that most of Klal Yisrael are keeping Torah and mitzvahs. She's crying over the one son, the one jewel, the one Yid who doesn't have a connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And she doesn't stop crying. You know, we all know we can have 10 children. One child is a little bit off the derech. It's kind of iffy, and we're not happy. There's something missing. That's Rachel Imenu. That's what we're genetically made out of. The fact that we aren't comforted by the fact that my child davens in the morning, but that's about it. We want him to do more. We want him to have that connection. That comes from Rachel Imenu. That's how we're connected to her. So what did Rachel Imenu do? How big was her sacrifice with the fact that she gave over the simanim? So let's look at this. Yaakov Avinu comes and he meets up with Rachel Imenu, and they meet, and he cries when he meets her. First of all, they love each other, and a real love, a real true bonding soul love, and they know they're destined to be with one another. And Rachel Imenu says to Yaakov Avinu, "Listen, in the place where I live, it's not going to happen. My father's not going to let me marry you." Ah, hi. Took me a while to get it. You look so beautiful. And so Rachel Imenu says, "Listen, you got to be prepared here. Lavan, he's like a real big cheater. I love my father, but we got to know what we're up for." And Yaakov says, "Oh, don't worry. I just cheated my father for the bracha for Esav. I'm okay. I'm kind of experienced with what it means to deal with the Ramayim, with the cheaters." And so he says to her, "Listen, but just in case, let me give you over these simanim, and we'll know that when you give me over the simanim, I know it'll be you." Now, it's written in the Midrash that Rachel Imenu and Leah Imenu, they were both twins. I don't know if anyone knows. They were identical twins. But Leah was born first, so she was considered the Bechorah. She was considered the oldest. So she had the rights to marry first. Now Rachel Imenu didn't go back when she got the simanim and said, "Oh, Leah, look what happened. I got the simanim, da 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 da." No, she kept this inside, silence, keeping it inside. And for 7 years, Yaakov Avinu worked for Rachel, and he would send her gifts. And every time he would send a gift, he would give it to Lavan and say, "Please give this to my Rachel." And what would he do? He would go and take it and give it to Leah. And Rachel knew about this, and Rachel didn't say anything. So we're going a little bit deeper on how much her sacrifice is, just to start to try to understand how much she really gave in. Okay, that's nothing. Then comes the night of the chuppah, and she sees, hey, we're heading in for a pitfall here. My sister's going to marry, and there's nothing I could do about it. So she gives over the simanim. But how does she give over the simanim? She doesn't say to Leah, "You know what? Yaakov Avinu said these are the simanim that you should know to tell him that when you meet up with him, when you're together with him." She says to Leah, "Listen, by the way, just want you to know that in Yaakov Avinu's house, they tend to do, Chana, Chala, Nidan, Hadlakat Nerot. Just by the way, just so you kind of know." And it was given over totally, what Rashi interprets as B'tzniut. It was given over in modesty, quietly, internally, so that nobody else would know, so that Leah would not really know how it was given over to Rachel. And that night, we all know they were together, and when they were together, Rachel was under the bed, and she would talk instead of Leah, and so that Yaakov Avinu would never know that he was with Leah that night. And so, again, we're starting to broaden up the sacrifice here of really what she's done. Okay, now we're going one step further. When Rachel, we know that Leah had no eyelashes, right? Leah was crying her entire life. Because Leah, they were both Neviot, they were both prophetesses. They both knew that Leah was destined for Esav to marry, and Rachel was destined to marry Yaakov. And Leah would go out to the marketplace, and she would say to everybody, say it in Hebrew, I'll repeat it in English, "Mama aseh Esav, what are the deeds of Esav?" She would just beg, "Please, somebody just tell me something good about Esav. I know he's a rasha, I know he's wicked. What is his deed? Somebody tell me something good." And then they would come back and they would say to her, "Esav? Ah, he's a cheater. He's a cheater. You don't want to have anything to do with him. The next day she would come back and again she would say, Mama say Esav. Mama say Esav. What are the deeds of Esav? And again they would say to her, oh, Esav, he's a killer. You don't have anything to do with him. Stay away from him. She would cry and she would cry and she would cry, like I said, until she had bags under her eyes, until she lost all of her eyelashes, the Midrash teaches us. And so when Rachel gave over Yaakov Avinu to Leah, guess what? Who does she get to marry now? Esav. So now Rachel Imenu has given up her Torah, her title, as being the mother of Klal Yisrael, and who's she going to become? The mother of Amalek, the mother of the Goyim. She's going to be the mother of Hitler. Do you understand? Can we fathom this? So she gave up her Olam Hazeh because she gave up the love of her life, and she knew she wasn't going to be. She didn't know. We know the end of the story. We know she's married Yaakov, and she was Zocha to 2 Shvatim. She didn't know this. In her mind, I'm giving up Yaakov. Who do I get? Esav. So she was going to lose this world and lose the next world. Because what kind of olam haba do we have if our destinies, our descendants are all wicked? So again, we're trying to now broaden again and again, work further to see really how much she sacrificed. And the only reason why she did this is because she had emunah that this was her calling. This is my mission. My mission is to take care of my sister. If this is what they say, if 2 people are under a chuppah, it's not because of the Shadchan or Mikre. We all know this. It's because this is what these 2 neshamas are destined to be with each other under the chuppah. There is no chance. There is no because I went here or by the chance they were there. And we say the word hashgacha, but we don't pay it service. Hashgacha is a very, very strong word. It's an opportunity for us to really, really see Hashem in our lives. So she, in her mind, said, I'm doing this. I'm willing to go through the difficulty and anguish of being married to a Rasha just so my sister is happy. Just so that I'm going to do HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will. Any of us understand? We all want to be like Rachel Imenu, but are any of us prepared to work that avoda? What an avoda. What gadlus. Okay? One step further now we're going to take it. Rachel Imenu, Leah is married to Yaakov, and Rachel Imenu is Zocha to also marry Yaakov. And one day, Leah sends her son Reuven. She has 4 children, and she sends her son Reuven out to the field. And she asks Reuven, please go and fetch me what's called dudaim. Dudaim are special herbal flowers that were very rarely found in the fields at the time. And it was a skula for fertility. It was a skula to get pregnant. And so Rachel Imenu sees Reuven going and getting the dudaim. And she goes over to Leah and she says to Leah, listen, that night, it was her turn to be intimate and be with Yaakov Avinu. They would take turns from tent to tent. And she goes over to Leah and she says to Leah, can you please give me your dudaim? I'd really like your dudaim that your son collected. And what is Leah's response? Shakaru. It's not enough, you took my husband. Now you're going to take my dudaim? This is what she tells Rachel. And what does Rachel do? Silence. Just like she was silenced from the moment that she gave Yaakov Avinu to Leah, she was silent. Now what would we all do? Let me tell you something, honey. Let me tell you something, honey. You're telling me I took your husband? Do you have any idea what I've been going through for the past I don't know how many years? Right? Aren't we all human? Wouldn't that be a response? Silence. Doesn't say a word. And in that zchut of her silence, of her midah, of her willing to give up the title of mother of Klal Yisrael, she was zocha midah keneged midah, measure for measure, to be called the mother of Am Yisrael. Are we understanding now the gadlus of our mother? And again, she's our mother. And we all know that if our parents specialize in, they have a great voice, chances are the kids will have a good voice. If the father is a doctor, most of the times one of the kids become a doctor, right? It's genetically embedded in us. So we are all genetically embedded to be able to emulate this as well, here in our world, in our life, in our everyday interaction with our spouse, with our children, with our neighbor, with our family. And it's written that in the zchut of us emulating, what zchut do we have to return to our borders? It's written in her zchut. We're going to have the zchut to return to our borders, to live and dwell in Eretz HaKodesh peacefully. In what zchut? In the zchut of Rachel Imenu, but not just in the zchut of Rachel Imenu, in the zchut of us emulating what Rachel Imenu did. And I want to talk just a little bit about what Rashi again says is tzniut. Tzniut, of course, we all interpret it as our clothes and we dress properly and such, but tzniut means I'm hiding that beauty. I'm hiding the internal. The internal is staying internal. It's me. It's just me. It's inside of me. So I could dress tzniusly, but if in my mind I'm dressing in order for somebody, even just my neighbor, to recognize me, I'm not tzanua. There's something wrong with my tzniut. The whole inyan of tzniut is, it's between me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rachel Imenu, nobody knew about this. We're learning only now about what the godless that she had. Nobody knew about this. Nobody knew what she did. She took it upon herself to do this and sacrifice her life for her sister without boasting about it, without telling anybody about it. That's what Rashi calls tzniut. So I'm going to, I don't know how long I've spoken. Can somebody give me a sense? I lose track. 20 minutes. Okay, we can go on a little bit more. So I just want to say this, and I think this is one of the things I'd like for all of us to walk away. In the zchut of Rachel Imenu, I think that it's important that all of us take upon ourselves one mitzvah that we do that nobody else knows about. Not our husband, not our children, not our family, nothing. One mitzvah, just for you, Hashem. Just for you to put in the treasure box. I don't want to be complimented about it. I don't want anybody to know that I've done this. I want to do a mitzvah l'shem shamayim. I don't even want to think about it. I don't want to think about how wonderful I am. I'm just going to do it. And it's going to be there. It's going to wait for me after 120. The zchut of Rachel Imenu, because just like she did this l'shem shamayim, I think it's very important that we also do something l'shem shamayim. Just do a maaseh chesed. If you can do it more than once, ma tov u'ma na'im. But all in all, just I think that's something very beautiful if we can take it upon us. Another thing that Rachel Imenu, just so that we understand, we spoke about what it meant for her to sacrifice. Another thing that she really sacrificed was, why was she buried on the border of Yerushalayim? Literally, this was the border of Yerushalayim, and she got right over to here. Okay, right here. She wasn't zohat to come into Eretz Yisrael, and she knew that she wouldn't be able to be in Eretz Yisrael. She knew she wasn't going to be able to bring up her children and grandchildren. And why? Because at the time you weren't allowed. One husband wasn't allowed to be married to two women in Eretz Yisrael. You could do it outside the borders of Eretz Yisrael, but you weren't allowed to do it inside of Eretz Yisrael. So she also knew that she was giving up the zchut. Not only, again, we're talking not only to give up the zchut of being mother of Klal Yisrael, not only the zchut that she lost the love of her life, but she gave up the zchut to live in Eretz Yisrael. How many of us think about how important it is to live in Eretz Yisrael? Okay, we're all here. I lived here for 19 years. I'm not here to preach anybody, tell anybody to pack up their bags and make aliyah, even though I think it would be a great thing. I'm here to say to you that if you don't, and you're not, at least yearn every day. Make a part of your tefillah. Hashem, and even if you don't have the desire to be in Eretz Yisrael, that means there's something lacking in us. Something's wrong with our connection to Hashem, because Hashem gave us Eretz Yisrael as a connecting piece for all of Klal Yisrael. If we don't have a sense of wanting to be there, to live there, to be in the Chatzer Shel HaMelech, to be in the palace of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's something missing in our Kedusha. There's something wrong. So if you don't feel it, even just say to Hashem, listen, Hashem, I want to yearn. I want to yearn to be in Eretz Yisrael. I don't have it in me. Please forgive me, and sigh a little bit. Show Hashem that you at least want to, that you at least have a yearning. It's written, Rahama Ba, there's a pasuk in, basically it's written in the Gemara that Hashem desires our heart. He wants us to feel, He wants us to want to be close to Him. He wants us to want to be in Eretz Yisrael, even if we're not. It's the Baal Shem Tov teaches us that a person is wherever their thoughts are. If my thoughts are in the Kotel, I'm at the Kotel right now. I'm nowhere else. I can be in my living room, Passaic Park, but I'm not in Passaic Park. I'm where my mindset is. So every day, just take a few minutes. We all have some sort of a picture of Eretz Yisrael or something that reminds us. Every morning, just look at something that for Eretz Yisrael, just yearn. Just let out a sigh and say, if only. Just something. It's so meaningful. You're going to see the sachar that you're going to get, God willing, after 120 for just your yearning to want to be in Eretz Yisrael. Because that was something that Mama Rachel gave up. She gave up her zchut to be in Eretz Yisrael. Also, the 11th of Cheshvan is the 41st day of the year, of the beginning of the year. 41 in Gematria is M, Aleph Mem. So really, Rachel Imeinu's Yahrzeit is our Mother's Day. It's our day to recognize what it means to be a Yiddish mama, to care for our children, to sacrifice for our children, what it means to do something, L'Shem Shamayim, that we're willing to do something for Hashem, no matter how difficult, no matter how hard it is, but to really sacrifice for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's really all that I did as far as planning for Rachel Imeinu. I don't know if we should get into the whole inyan of Emunah. Maybe I'll touch just a little bit as far as Emunah and what it means. Emunah means living with a keen awareness of Hashem, meaning that I don't just see Hashem in the big things in life. I see Hashem in the small things of life. If it means finding that right parking space, if it means opening up the washing machine and it works. Thank you, Hashem. Does any of us know what it means to not have a washing machine, especially after Chol Hamoed? Do we thank? Do we say, do we just take a minute? Do we thank Hashem? Thank you, Hashem, for letting this washing machine work. What do we think? Because we have a Kenmore or we have whatever brand that we deserve for it to work? It's Hashem that's making it work. Do you ever try to open up the faucet of water and it doesn't let out any water because there was a main break on your street and you got a shower with mineral water? Well, I did. One day I wanted to go in the beautiful tropical weather of Eretz Yisrael. I went to open up the water of the shower, and guess what? No water came out. And I took a shower in bottles of mineral water, thinking about, okay, this is going to be how it would be, God forbid, if there was a war. But, do we appreciate the fact that the water comes out of our faucet? How much do we appreciate the house that we live in? The couch that is so comfortable for us? The book that, we find? The children that we have. I mean, usually most of us are thankful for our spouse and our children. But take a minute. Look at the things in your life. There's a tikkun of every little thing that we have in our house. These books when they were bought, there were 10 of them, on the shelf in the Judaica store. Why Dafka these books are on this shelf? Because Dafka these books have a tikkun with this family. This family has a tikkun with Dafka these books. No other book. Why when I go to a supermarket I choose this tomato as opposed to that tomato? Because this tomato, the bracha that I make on this tomato belongs to me. Nobody else can bring the tikkun of this tomato but me. It's tedious, right? It's a little bit tedious. I see Hashem yeah, that's what it is. Why? Because the world outside of us, the culture of the media is kochi ve'otzem yadi. I work, I achieve. I don't work, I won't achieve. I have a degree, I'll make money. Don't have a good degree, won't make money. That's not emunah. Emuna is, I do my hishtadlus, but my hishtadlus, first of all, I have to understand, is a curse. My hishtadlus came from Chet Adam HaRishon. We weren't supposed to work. We weren't supposed to do any hishtadlus. We were supposed to be partners with Hashem to just keep broadening the light of His being. But when Adam HaRishon sinned, he created a separation. There became a separation. He broke his vessel of holiness. And that's us, right? We're all broken vessels of holiness. So our job is to rebuild that vessel of holiness so we can attach ourselves to Hashem. And the only way I'm going to attach myself to Hashem is to see Him everywhere I go, right? The chair broke, the eggs broke on the floor, the milk spilled, right? What do we say to our child that did it? Take a shmata, just clean it up, right? We don't get angry once they cleaned it up. They did it, they cleaned it. That's what we're here. We're here to clean up the mess. We're here on damage control. We have to now clean up the mess that Adam HaRishon did in order to be able to make the world a vessel that could receive the light of Mashiach, because now it's all filtered. It's all an illusion. The eyes, which are the eyes are the windows of the soul. Through our eyes, we absorb all that goes around us, and it gets implanted in our soul. Why is it so important not to see immoral figures and things that aren't filled with kedusha? Because it affects our neshama. We look at it as we see a little movie or we hear a little Geisha music. It doesn't affect us. It affects our neshama. Everything affects our neshama. But what we have to understand, so then we have such a hard job, because here we are, we're being taught, all our minds are already trained into thinking that we have to work, we have to put our hishtadlus in. But hishtadlus, the amount of hishtadlus that one person has to do, it depends on their amount of emunah. If I have a lot of emunah in Hashem, then I don't have to do a lot of hishtadlus. I know Hashem runs the world. I need to make my phone calls. I need to, do my best to find a job. I go to a shadchan because I know that's the way of the world. But do I believe in my hishtadlus? No. Hashem doesn't need my hishtadlus. I need my hishtadlus. And why do I need my hishtadlus? Because the Maharal teaches us that we're only supposed to do hishtadlus in order to conceal the miracle of Hashem's intervention. The minute we can conceal Hashem's intervention by doing one maaseh, one thing, again, depending on where your level of emunah is, that's already the required hishtadlus. Just in order to say it wasn't a miracle. If I make a phone call and I get 20 back from different jobs, I can always say and attribute it to the phone call that I made. Even though I might in my heart say, oh, what hashgacha, how great, it's so wonderful, Hashem, was kind to me. But the bottom line is, we concealed His hands, right? If I, though, am at my diaper stages of emunah, and I'm really just now beginning to try to train myself to connect myself to Hashem, then I'm going to have to do 20 phone calls. Okay, fine. You're at that place? Fine. At least before every phone call, take a minute and say, listen, Hashem, Alevai alai, I wish I could be on that level of not having to do all these concerted efforts, but I'm doing it because I'm not there yet. Help me get to that level where I'm going to be able to do less and have you intervene more with me seeing it, so that I'll be increasing my emunah. It's all about constant communication. That's the key to any relationship. We know in a marriage, with our children, communicate. Why do we not communicate with Hashem? Why don't we talk to Him when we're doing the dishes, when we're ironing, when we're cooking? Hashem, let this food be wonderful. Let my children feel how much I love them. Let my husband know how much I want him to be healthy, and I want him to feel good. And I just want them to know how much I love them. And you bless the food. We eat kosher food because we understand what, in essence, it affects us. Why don't we bless the food that we make? Why don't we talk to Hashem? Why don't we thank Him? We sit at the Shabbos table. Do we sit and say, thank you, Hashem? It doesn't matter that you have your IRS all panned out for you and you think you're secure and you have your savings bonds. It means nothing. Do you say thank you to Hashem? Do we say thank you to Hashem for what we have? So it's all about recognizing HaKadosh Baruch Hu in everything. From the moment I wake up, we say, Rabbah emunatecha. Hashem, you believe in me. That's why you gave me another day. You believe that I'm going to be able to see you today. So I'm going to see you today. Because that's what we're here. We're here to reveal Hashem's light. You and you and you and you. And together, we make a bright light. So I wish for all of us, Be'ezrat Hashem, that we should have the koach to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it says, Kirvat Hashem li tov, David HaMelech tells us, because there's no other better place than to be attached to the source of all good. The source of all good is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Our souls are yelling. We don't hear it. It's so embedded. It's under so many layers of vanities of this world. We don't hear. We are not in touch with ourselves anymore. We need to get in touch with ourselves. We need to talk to ourselves, talk to Hashem, and connect to Him, because that's what Mama Rachel did. And Be'ezrat Hashem, we should be zochet to really increase our emunah, see Hashem, recognize the blessing in everything that He does, even in the difficulties. It's all for our good. Whatever Hashem does, it's all for our good. I live with it every day. I live by that my worst nisayon should be my MS. I live with it. I also have tikkunim. I also have my nisyonos, but Baruch Hashem, I pray for all of us that we should really walk away here being empowered and inspired to increase awareness, not only ourselves, but also when we talk. He'emanti ki adaber, talk divrei emunah. You had a hard day. Somebody says to you, "Hi, how was your day today?" It was wonderful, Baruch Hashem. But it was difficult, sorry, Baruch Hashem. Hanging on by a thread. I'm floating, not drowning. All these sayings. What about Baruch Hashem? It's difficult, but I know Hashem is with me. He'll give me the koach to get through this. Talk divrei emunah to your friends. Be a source of emunah, of strength, and pass it on. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should be matzliach. Wishing everybody a Shavua Tov.